of connectivity problems that we have encountered from where we are coming to you in Addis. But we appreciate and thank you all for your kind patience. And today we will be proceeding with agenda items 3, but we would also commence agenda item 8, which relates to the presentation of the activity reports of members of the African Commission on Human and People's Rights. Without any further ado, I would like to first of all indicate
Chair, we cannot hear you. Chair. Président. Ah, in the previous.
thus far since the beginning of our session, things have been relatively running smoothly. I do hope that it will continue like that. Once again, thank you for that short interruption we encountered. Colleagues, members of the Commission, state delegates, representatives of international organizations, NHRIs, and civil society organizations, as I pointed out earlier on, we will continue with some of the statements from agenda item 3 on the situation of human rights in Africa, with a focus on human and people's rights in the context of COVID-19. We would also commence agenda item 8 on the activity reports of members of the African Commission. We have a request from the Secretary of State for Human Rights and Citizenship of Angola. I do understand and recognize that this is actually a right of reply, considering that Angola, through the Minister of Justice and Human Rights, have already presented a statement of Angola at the beginning of our session, as all of you recall.
Honorable commissaire, je pense que en raison des difficultés techniques qui empêchent le commissaire qui est à Addis Abeba, nous avions déjà perdu 15 minutes au début de cette session, parce que j'avais demandé qu'on attende un peu, mais on se rend compte visiblement que, voilà, il est encore en ligne. Il faut maintenant passer la parole peut-être à l'Angola qu'il puisse continuer, parce qu'on a perdu une vingtaine de minutes. Remettez la parole au président, peut-être qu'il passe la parole à l'Angola. Allô, est-ce qu'il nous entend? Chairperson, if you are
Yes, I
hearing
can hear
us,
you.
yes, I give you the floor so that you can give to the Republic of Angola the floor to continue. I was saying that
I didn't get the English translation now. Oh, unfortunately, I had it on translation, so I didn't get his voice. Okay. Okay. Thank you very much, Vice Chair. Just in case this thing continues to happen again, I would request that the other statement is from the Zimbabwe Human Rights Commission. And there are also requests from 4 other human rights institutions. But now, for now, let's try that, that this works well for us. So, do we have the Secretary of State of Angola? Okay, we don't. All right. So in that case, may I request if we have Zimbabwe Human Rights Commission? Okay. Do we have the representative of ERND, represented by Innocent Bisimwa? Okay, if we don't have these, what we do now is basically proceed to the presentation of the activity reports of the commission. We would start with the activity reports of former members of the commission who have concluded their tenure of office with the African Commission on Human and People's Rights. We will start in that respect with the presentation of the activity reports of the working group on indigenous populations / communities in Africa. And this would be presented by the Vice Chairperson, Commissioner Remy Ngoy Lumbu, on behalf of the chairperson of the working group, the former chairperson of the working group, Commissioner Soyata Maiga. I wish to take this opportunity to once again express my deep and profound gratitude to my predecessor, former chairperson of the commission, Commissioner Soyata Maiga, for a work that she has delivered with dedication and exemplary commitment in the service of the African people in the promotion and protection of human rights, having assumed various roles and responsibilities within the African Commission on Human and People's Rights. We thank her dearly. Vice Chair Commissioner Remy, you have the floor. Thank you. Your mic is off.
Merci beaucoup, Monsieur le Président, pour la parole que vous me passez. Je voudrais d'abord, avant toute chose, saluer les distingués représentants des États, s'ils sont connectés, les représentants des institutions nationales des droits de l'homme, les représentants des organisations non gouvernementales. Je salue également tous les honorables commissaires qui sont toujours présents au rendez-vous pour cette noble tâche d'analyse des questions liées aux droits de l'homme sur le continent. Donc, je voudrais présenter ce rapport au nom de l'honorable commissaire, l'ancien honorable commissaire et ancienne présidente de la Commission africaine des droits de l'homme et du peuple, Maître Soyata Maïga, qui nous a quittés entre la 65e et la 66e session ordinaire ayant terminé son mandat. Il s'agit donc du rapport d'activité intercession présenté en sa qualité de président du groupe de travail sur les populations et les communautés autochtones en Afrique. Ce présent rapport est soumis, bien évidemment, en application des articles 23.3 et 72 du règlement intérieur de la Commission africaine des droits de l'homme et du peuple, en partie parce que, comme vous le savez, à partir de février 2020, nous avions adopté également un nouveau rapport et les références de ce nouveau règlement intérieur méritent également leur part dans ce paragraphe. Ce rapport met en exergue les activités entreprises depuis la 65e session ordinaire de la Commission qui s'était tenue du 21 octobre au 10 novembre 2019 à Banjul, en Gambie. Le rapport est organisé en 4 chapitres, dont le premier traite des activités entreprises en sa qualité de président du groupe de travail sur les populations et les communautés autochtones en Afrique. Le second chapitre donne des informations sur les activités menées par les membres de ce groupe. Le chapitre 3 met l'accent sur la situation des populations autochtones au cours de la période intercession. Et le chapitre 4 donne des recommandations formulées en vue d'assurer une promotion et une protection plus satisfaisante des droits des populations autochtones du continent. Chapitre 1, les activités menées en sa qualité suite à la situation de la propagation en Afrique et dans le monde. Ce communiqué a été publié le 23 avril 2020, intitulé Communiqué de presse sur l'impact de l'épidémie sur les populations et communautés autochtones en Afrique. Il est disponible sur le site internet de la Commission. Dans ce communiqué, la souligne la préoccupation du groupe qu'elle anime concernant notamment les conditions de précarité des populations autochtones en Afrique, vie, notamment l'extrême pauvreté, le manque de logement et de décent qui pose un réel problème d'hygiène et de santé, tu as ainsi un risque réel de propagation du COVID-19 au sein de ces populations autochtones. Il y a également le communiqué fait également état du problème de l'inaccessibilité des populations ou des communautés autochtones aux services de santé en raison du manque de ressources et de l'éloignement des centres de santé, ainsi que l'inadaptation des politiques sanitaires nationales au mode de vie autochtone. À cet égard, la présidente du groupe de travail a invité les États ayant les populations communautés autochtones sur leur territoire à prendre les mesures idoines en vue de la protection des communautés autochtones contre la contamination du COVID-19 par une bonne prévention en raison de leur vulnérabilité. Elle a en outre exhorté les États parties concernés à prendre en considération le mode de vie des populations autochtones dans toutes les décisions prises pour la prévention et la lutte contre le COVID-19 en vue de répondre à leurs besoins spécifiques pour une lutte stratégique contre l'épidémie. Deuxième activité menée par la présidente dans le cadre, en sa qualité de présidente évidemment de ce groupe de travail, c'est elle a lancé un appel urgent le 14 mai 2020 au président de la République démocratique du Congo au sujet de la condamnation de 8 membres de la communauté autochtone Batwa du village de Muyanga dans le groupement de Miti, en territoire de Kabaré, par le tribunal militaire de Bukavu, dans l'est de la République démocratique du Congo. Dans cette lettre d'appel urgent, la présidente avait particulièrement exprimé la préoccupation du groupe de travail sur les populations autochtones concernant les irrégularités qui ont caractérisé la procédure judiciaire et la violation des droits des communautés autochtones sur leurs terres ancestrales. Elle avait à cet effet attiré l'attention de son Excellence, Monsieur le Président de la République démocratique du Congo, sur les mesures qui devraient être prises au cas où ces allégations qu'elle avait reçues s'étaient révélées être avérées. Chapitre 2, les activités menées par les membres du groupe. Chapitre 1er concernait les activités menées par la présidente. Au chapitre 2, il s'agit maintenant des activités menées par les membres du groupe. La première activité, c'est la participation à la réunion préparatoire de Beijing plus 25 qui a eu lieu à Yaounde au Cameroun du 3 au 6 décembre 2019. A participé à cette réunion Madame Awe Bouba, membre du groupe de travail, qui a participé à cette conférence régionale organisée par l'Association des femmes autochtones d'Afrique, AFAA, au cours de laquelle des femmes autochtones de 15 pays d'Afrique et d'Amérique latine se sont rencontrées pour préparer Beijing plus 20. Les participantes avaient pour mission de débattre des avancées réalisées en ce qui concerne le processus de Beijing et de préparer la deuxième conférence mondiale des femmes autochtones prévue en septembre 2020. Dans ses conclusions, la conférence avait constaté que de 1995 à nos jours, les femmes autochtones avaient réalisé de considérables progrès en plaidant pour leurs droits grâce au renforcement de leurs capacités et en participant à différentes réunions et à différents processus nationaux, régionaux et internationaux qui ont tous favorisé un meilleur leadership et une meilleure participation à la vie politique des femmes autochtones. Malgré ces réalisations, les femmes et les filles demeurent confrontées à de nombreux défis, notamment la discrimination et la marginalisation, l'injustice environnementale, la violence basée sur le genre, les faibles possibilités d'accès à l'éducation, les difficultés d'accès à la propriété et aux droits fonciers, le meurtre tribaux, la faible participation à la vie politique, l'absence de présence effective au poste de décision, l'insuffisance et l'inaccessibilité des services sociaux et les conflits armés. De fortes recommandations ont été faites au gouvernement, à l'Organisation des Nations Unies, à la communauté internationale en général, ainsi qu'aux femmes autochtones et à leurs organisations en particulier. La deuxième activité, c'est la réunion. La deuxième activité, c'est la réunion des... Un instant, il faudrait que je suis sur une machine qui commence à... Un instant. La deuxième activité, c'est la réunion régionale sur l'autonomisation des femmes autochtones d'Afrique et d'Asie, qui a eu lieu en Tanzanie, plus précisément à Morogoro, du 20 au 21 février 2020. Madame Awe, encore une fois, membre de ce groupe de travail, a participé à la première réunion régionale des partenaires africains sur l'autonomisation des femmes autochtones d'Afrique et d'Asie, qui s'est tenue dans la ville précitée. Cette réunion avait été convoquée dans le droit fil d'un projet d'autonomisation des femmes autochtones d'Afrique et d'Asie par l'appui à divers mouvements de femmes qui luttent pour leurs droits et pour mettre un terme à la violence basée sur le genre et aux pratiques néfastes dont elles sont victimes. La réunion avait été organisée par la Paikoleo, Pakakuyo, Pastoralist Indigenous Community Development Organization, et s'est tenue avec la participation de représentants des organisations autochtones de Tanzanie, du Kenya et du Cameroun, bénéficiaires du projet. La réunion a également enregistré la participation d'IWGIA du Danemark. C'est une ONG de droits du Danemark. L'autre activité des membres du groupe, c'est le forum régional sur les modes alternatifs de règlement des litiges qui s'est tenu du 2 au 3 mars 2020 à Nairobi, au Kenya. Cette fois-ci, c'est le docteur Mela Koutegeng, membre de ce groupe de travail, qui a pris part à ce forum régional relatif aux modes alternatifs de règlement des litiges. Le forum avait été organisé par l'Organisation internationale de droit du développement et la Commission internationale des juristes. Au cours du forum, le docteur Mela Koutegeng a présenté une communication ayant pour thème les normes et mécanismes internationaux et régionaux pertinents se rapportant à l'état de droit et à la législation des droits de l'homme. Il avait retracé l'évolution historique du groupe de travail, donné les motifs à l'origine de sa création et fait le point sur ses différentes réalisations. Il a par ailleurs mis l'accent sur la raison pour laquelle la promotion des droits des populations autochtones est indispensable et incontournable à la promotion des droits de l'homme en général et du développement social en particulier. Il avait aussi exprimé pourquoi il est très important que les êtres humains reconnaissent les droits des populations autochtones et ceux de femmes qui appartiennent à cette communauté. Chapitre 3. Bref aperçu de la situation des communautés autochtones en Afrique. Pendant la période d'intercession, il a été noté des développements positifs, mais également des domaines de préoccupation concernant la reconnaissance et la protection des droits des populations autochtones sur le continent. En ce qui concerne les développements positifs, le groupe de travail se réjouit des avancées ci-après. Une communauté Kwe-San des environs de Kareng, dans le district du Nord-Ouest, a obtenu du gouvernement du Botswana le droit de déménager à Xorocha, sur leurs anciennes terres ancestrales, où un forage était prévu pour eux en prévision de leur réinstallation. La communauté étant largement acquise à l'idée de cette réinstallation, de cette entreprise de réinstallation. Le groupe de travail se réjouit également de l'élection de 2 membres de la communauté San, de la communauté Kwe-San, au conseil des districts de Ganzi. Bien évidemment, nous sommes toujours au Botswana. Deuxième élément, le soutien fourni aux communautés San, Ovatwe et Ovajimba par le gouvernement de Namibie par l'intermédiaire de la division des communautés minoritaires, DMC, du cabinet du vice-président. Troisième élément, l'adoption de 6 projets de décret sur 9 pour mettre en œuvre la loi de 2011 portant promotion et protection des populations autochtones de la République du Congo, une initiative prise en prévision des mesures spéciales visant à faciliter leur inscription sur les registres d'état civil et leur accès aux services sociaux de base et à l'éducation, ainsi que la création d'un ministère chargé de la promotion des populations autochtones, représentés par des bureaux dans 11 des départements du pays. La protection élément, l'accord, c'est le partage des bénéfices sur les avoirs traditionnels rooibos par le gouvernement d'Afrique du Sud. 6e élément, l'adoption par le gouvernement d'Afrique du Sud du loi sur le leadership TKLA qui reconnaît notamment les communautés traditionnelles et la volonté politique de plus en plus favorable aux populations qui a initié pour les populations autochtones un processus d'élaboration nationale des mesures d'action positive. Toutefois, connu de il est en novembre 2019 par le tribunal de Gardaïa à l'encontre de l'homme de Mozambique atteinte à l'intégrité du territoire national, l'honneur des institutions algériennes et tenter de discréditer sur les décisions juridictionnelles. Un homme commis au Parlement qui demeure un défi pour les populations et communautés autochtones de nombreuses garantissent.
Ajala, good morning. How are you? Is the internet on? Okay. Okay, I'm using my Wi-Fi, but it's also terrible, going off and on, off and on. So maybe there is a general problem as well.
Allô,
Okay, I'll do that. I'll do that. Thank you. Yeah, bye-bye.
allô, allô.
Jimsina Kim.
Allô? Allô? Je peux continuer? Vous m'entendez?
Monsieur le vice-président, on n'entend rien du
Ok.
tout depuis pratiquement 10 minutes. Hein. Ce n'est pas audible.
Vous n'entendez rien?
Non, non, non. La voix est hachée. Donc, ce n'est pas du tout audible. Depuis 10 minutes, on n'a pas compris. Hein.
Vous auriez aimé que je reprenne?
Oui, éventuellement, si le son est meilleur.
Vice Chair. Okay.
Can I proceed?
Yes, please.
Ok. Alors, je parlais du principe du consentement préalable et éclairé qu'on appelle le CLIP. Le CLIP qui demeure un défi pour les populations et communautés autochtones de nombreux pays, même si leurs constitutions garantissent la participation des populations. La condamnation de 8 membres de la communauté autochtone batois du territoire de Cabaret, dans un procès expéditif par le tribunal militaire de Bukavu, en République du Congo. 5. Les graves discriminations continuent contre la communauté Kelma contre la communauté qui ne sont pas inscrites à l'état civil, ce qui les prive de l'accès aux services publics, le soin et l'éducation. 6. L'exécution de la communauté singulière avec la commission et la communauté endormie. Les recommandations. Pour créer un environnement favorable aux populations autochtones au niveau régional qu'au niveau national, le groupe de travail aux États partis de prendre les positions nécessaires en vue d'assurer le territoire, réviser les lois, les politiques et les pratiques judiciaires et les pratiques préjudiciables aux communautés autochtones, en particulier ceux concernant le développement. Troisième élément, créer un environnement propice et favorable permettant aux communautés autochtones et aux défenseurs des droits des communautés autochtones de travailler en toute liberté. 4. Soutenir les organisations autochtones et renforcer leurs capacités institutionnelles en vue de leur permettre de défendre leurs droits. Mettre un terme aux politiques d'expropriation des populations autochtones de leurs terres sans leur consentement libre, préalable et sans une compensation satisfaisante. 6. Respecter et mettre en œuvre les décisions de tous les organes internationaux, régionaux et sous-régionaux relatives aux populations autochtones. 7. Être ouvert à la coopération et aux échanges avec le groupe de travail et les autres parties prenantes sur la question des populations autochtones. Les recommandations. Premièrement, créer des organisations fortes et actives qui œuvrent sans relâche et sincèrement à la satisfaction des besoins et exigences de leur peuple. Deuxième recommandation, renforcer les capacités des communautés autochtones en matière des droits de l'homme, la gouvernance, le plaidoyer et l'entrepreneuriat. Des recommandations, c'est celle que fait le groupe de travail aux autres organisations nationales et internationales. Ici aussi, il y en a deux. Fournir l'assistance technique, matérielle et financière requise aux communautés et organisations autochtones pour promouvoir et protéger leurs droits. Deuxième recommandation, intégrer dans leur agenda et projets de développement dans les pays les besoins et préoccupations des communautés populations autochtones en concertation avec ces dernières. Monsieur le Président, honorables messieurs les commissaires et membres de la Commission, tel est le contenu du rapport d'activité intercession de l'honorable commissaire Soyata Maïga, ancienne présidente de ce groupe de travail et ancienne présidente de la Commission africaine des droits de l'homme et des peuples, que j'ai eu l'honneur de présenter à votre auguste. Merci.
Okay, thank you for stepping in on behalf of former Commissioner Maiga to present the activity report of the Working Group on Indigenous Populations / communities, addressing the human and people's rights of minority groups and indigenous populations in Africa. As you can see from the presentation of the report from the former chairperson of the working group, there are various interventions initiated by the chairperson of the working group in response to a number of human rights issues affecting indigenous populations or communities in Africa. The activity report also has provided us with continuing issues affecting the rights of indigenous populations or communities in Africa and the measures that need to be taken in order to address these issues affecting indigenous populations or communities in Africa in various states parties to the African Charter on Human and People's Rights. I'm not really sure if we have a request from any of the state delegates, NHRIs or civil society organizations in response to the activity report of former chairperson of the working group on indigenous populations / communities in Africa. I am confirming with colleagues, members of the Secretariat. So we haven't as yet received statements in respect to the activity report of the chairperson of the working group on indigenous populations / communities. We would therefore come to the end of the consideration of this activity report. I think it's also of note for purpose of the prevailing conditions in which we operate at the moment, that of COVID-19, that among the sections of the population who, on account of their marginalization, are at a risk of not being provided with adequate protection from COVID-19 are indeed indigenous populations and communities and other ethnocultural minority groups on the African continent. And the intervention from the former chairperson of the working group through statements issued as part of the Commission's interventions to address the human rights issues arising from COVID-19 remains to be relevant, and it needs the implementation of states parties of the guidance that intervention of the former chairperson of the working group provided in the statement issued in the course of the COVID-19 pandemic. And we do hope that states parties as well as NHRIs and civil society organizations follow up with the recommendations of that statement in order to ensure that no one, including minorities and indigenous populations, are not left behind, are left unprotected from the protections required to spare people from COVID-19. Thank you very much once again to the Vice Chairperson of our Commission. The next activity report would be the activity report of the Special Rapporteur on the rights of women in Africa. And for that, we have Commissioner Kaitese Zainabu Sylvie, who have agreed to deliver that activity report on behalf of the former Special Rapporteur on the Rights of Women in Africa, former Commissioner Lucy Aswagbo. I would wish, as I hand over the floor to Commissioner Kaitese for the presentation of this activity report, to once again express my profound gratitude and appreciation to the work that former Commissioner Lucy Aswagbo had accomplished as a member of the African Commission on Human and People's Rights, and indeed in playing various roles assigned to her during the course of her tenure here on the African Commission on Human and People's Rights, including most recently as the Special Rapporteur on the Rights of Women in Africa. We, on behalf of members of the Commission, and indeed all Africans, wish to thank her dearly and we shall wish her well. Commissioner Kaitese, thank you very much. You have the floor.
Merci, Monsieur le Président, distingués délégués, honorables commissaires. Je vais présenter le rapport d'activité de la commissaire Lucy Aswagbo. Je vais le présenter en anglais parce que je n'ai pas pu trouver la version française de ce rapport. Honorable Commissioner Lucy Aswagbo presents her end of mandate report as a member of the African Commission on Human and People's Rights In particular, her achievements relating to her various capacities at the African Commission over the years since her election, notably the Special Rapporteur on Human Rights Defenders, Chairperson of the Committee on the Protection of the Rights of People living with HIV and those at risk, vulnerable to and affected by HIV, Chairperson of the Working Group on Communication and the Special Rapporteur on the Rights of Women in Africa. This report will be presented in 3 parts. Part 1 presents her intercession report, activity carried out in the period between the 65th ordinary session and this 66th ordinary session, including her activity report as commissioner, activities as a special rapporteur on the rights of women in Africa, as well as information regarding joint letters of appreciation, urgent appeal, and a press statement released published during the reporting period. Part 2 presents her achievements in her various capacities within the African Commission as a special rapporteur on human rights defenders, chairperson of HIV committees, chairperson of the Working Group on Communication, and the special rapporteur on the rights of women in Africa. Part 3 deals with the conclusions and the recommendations in her capacity as the special rapporteur on the rights of women in Africa. Part 1, intercession activities. In accordance with the rules 23 and 72 of 2010 rules of procedure of the African Commission, and in line with its resolution of 5 May 1999, Honorable Commissioner Lucy Aswabo presents this report in her capacity as a member of the African Commission and the Special Rapporteur on the Rights of Women in Africa. Activities as commissioners, she participated in the 27th extraordinary session of the African Commission, which took place in Banjul, the Gambia, from 19 February to 4th March 2020, organized to consider outstanding and urgent issues such as communications and urgent human rights issues of concern on the continent. On 30th April 2020, Commissioner Aswabo participated in a virtual meeting for commissioners organized by the Secretariat of the African Commission on newly effected African Union Commission and organs austerity measures. The main objective of the meeting was to discuss information received from AUC on the state of finance of the African Union and the austerity measures and how these impact on the planned work of the African Commission on Human and People's Rights for the rest of the year 2020, as well as how the African Commission on Human and People's Rights can continue to deliver on its mandate, which remains crucial in light of the COVID-19 pandemic. On 15 June 2020, together with the Special Rapporteur on prison conditions of detention and policing in Africa, and the chairperson of the Working Group on Death Penalty, Extrajudicial Summary or Arbitrary Killings and Enforcement Disappearances in Africa, Commissioner Aswabo, in her capacity as the country rapporteur for the Republic of Sierra Leone, sent a joint letter of appeal to His Excellency Julius Maada Bio, President of the Republic of Sierra Leone, on the Rio Inman Correctional Center in Freetown during the coronavirus pandemic. The joint letter of appeal addressed reports relating to a RIO which took place on 29th April 2020 at the Pademba Road prison in Freetown, allegedly resulting in the death of 5 inmates and 2 prison guards. On 22nd June 2020, Commissioner Swabo, in her capacity as country rapporteur on the promotion of human rights in the Republic of Malawi, issued a statement on the human rights situation in the country, in particular, the human rights issues relating to the electoral process and the role of the judiciary in Malawi, in order to ensure that the irregularities that marred the last election and created uncertainty and contestations in Malawi are not repeated. She urged the government of Malawi to ensure that the election is free, fair, credible, and transparent. She also urged the government to ensure that elections comply with the Constitution of Malawi and the standards laid down in the African Charter and the African Charter on Democracy, Election, and Governance. Activity head as a special rapporteur on rights of women in Africa. From 12 to 14 November 2019, the special rapporteur was invited by ACHPR Alliance to the Nairobi Summit commemorating ICPD plus 25 years in Nairobi, Kenya. She made a presentation on zero death from unsafe abortion by 2030. How do we get there? In her presentation, she noted that many countries continue to have restrictive abortion laws, and as a result, many women and girls are forced to seek clandestine and unsafe abortion. She said these restrictions disproportionately affect the vulnerable women and girls, including those in conflict settings that are survivors of sexual and gender-based violence resulting to unplanned and forced pregnancy. The special rapporteur underlined that ratification of the protocol to the African Charter on the Right of Women in Africa without reservations by all African states will constitute a strong regional commitment towards the elimination of preventable maternal death due to unsafe abortion. From 19th to 20 November 2019, the special rapporteur was invited to participate in the 10th anniversary of Network of Human Rights Defenders in Central Africa, in Yaounde, Cameroon, with the theme, Protecting and Supporting Human Rights Defenders, Our Engagement for Durable Peace. During this meeting, she participated in a panel on protection, effective security of women human rights defenders in the context of violent extremism in Africa. What specific protection? In her presentation, she applauded the important role played by women human rights defenders in the protection of human rights in the general and the women's rights in particular. She highlighted the challenges faced by women human rights defenders and the legal framework protecting them at the global and the regional levels, including the soft law instruments adopted by the African Commission on Human and People's Rights. She concluded by explaining the impact of violent extremism on women as a victim, perpetrator, and the agent of peace. The special rapporteur received an award for her relentless work in the protection and the promotion of human rights defenders in Africa, and in particular the right of women human rights defenders. From 24th to 28th November 2019, the Special Rapporteur attended the first in-country advocacy mission and the capacity building workshop on the ratification of the Maputo Protocol in Khartoum, Sudan. She was invited by the Women's Gender and Development Directorate of the African Union. The mission, which was in line with the African Women Decade 2010-2020, committing AU member states to achieve a universal ratification, domestication, and implementation of the Maputo Protocol by the end of the decade in 2020, was organized in collaboration with the Solidarity of African Women's Rights Network and the Office of the High Commissioner for Human Rights. The mission was followed by a 3-day capacity building workshop aimed at strengthening the capacity of Sudanese women to continue their advocacy and the campaign for ratification, domestication, and implementation of the Maputo Protocol. From 2 to 4th December 2019, the Special Rapporteur participated in the launch of the United Nations Office on Drugs and Crimes Nigeria training model on the gender dimension of criminal justice responses to terrorism, and a workshop co-organized by this UN office at the National Association of Women Judges of Nigeria, which took place in Abuja, Nigeria. The training model was developed by this UN office together with the Nigerian and international experts to provide a basic for capacity building in Nigerian criminal justice sector and the counter-terrorism institutions. It is meant to mainstream a gender perspective into counter-terrorism, particularly in the investigation and the prosecution of terrorism cases, and to strengthen accountability for sexual and gender-based violence by Boko Haram and the support for victims. From 10 to 12 December 2019, she was invited to a workshop in Abuja, Cote d'Ivoire, on the promotion of women lawyers on the African continent and at a network of African Women Lawyers Association. She made a presentation on the African human rights system where she highlighted the role and mandate of the African Commission on Human and People's Rights, the African Court on Human and People's Rights, and its complementarity relationship with the African Commission on Human and People's Rights, as well as the African Committee on the Right and the Welfare of the Child. In her presentation, while explaining components of the African human rights system, the Special Rapporteur gave an overview of the African Charter on Human and People's Rights, stating that it has provided a legal framework for the promotion and protection of human rights on the continent. She also explained the future of the Maputo Protocol, African Charter on the Right of Welfare of the Child, and the protocol to the African Charter on Human and People's Rights on the establishment of an African Court on Human and People's Rights. She also had an interactive discussion with the participants on how to engage with the special mechanism of the African Commission on Human and People's Rights. From 17 to 19 December 2019, together with the chairperson of HIV Committee, the chairperson of the working group on economic, social, and cultural rights in Africa, and the chairperson of the working group on death penalty, extrajudicial, summary, or arbitrary killings in the disappearances in Africa. The special rapporteur organized a sensitization seminar on the rights of women in Africa in Dakar, Senegal. The overall objective for the seminar, which was attended by about 90 participants, was aimed at raising awareness to stakeholders on the work of the African Commission in promoting and protecting the rights of women in Africa. She made a presentation on the mechanism of the Special Rapporteur on the Rights of Women in Africa, which is one of the oldest mechanisms of the African Commission on Women and People's Rights. She highlighted its achievements and as well as challenges, noting the slow ratification and domestication of the Maputo Protocol. The Special Rapporteur also made a presentation on the AU Salima initiative on elimination of female genital mutilation. She explained that the Salima initiative, which was endorsed by and launched on the sidelines of the 32nd session of the African Union Heads of State and the Government Summit, February 2019, is a continent-wide effort to accelerate action to end FGM. It championed the positive terminology for girls who have not undergone FGM, third challenging mainstream terminologies to describe girls and the women who have undergone this harmful practice. She stated that this approach aims to accelerate actions that ensure every African girl can grow to maturity in her natural and original form, complete and harmed Salima. She said the initiative is based on the premise that FGM is rooted in social cultural norms and the context, and therefore the power to abandon the practice resides within families and the communities. The other activity was the 35th Gender is My Agenda campaign. The Special Rapporteur participated in the 35th GMAC meeting held from 3rd to 4 February 2020 in Addis Ababa, Ethiopia, under the theme Recognizing and Amplifying Women and Girls Agency to Silence the Guns in Africa. This is in line with the African Union theme of the year, Silencing the Guns, Creating Conducive Conditions for Africans' Development. In the context of the GMAC meeting, she shared a panel on addressing the root causes of conflict-related gender-based violence and inequality as a means to silencing the guns, experiences from different regions, Africa, Europe, American. In her opening remarks, she noted that with the adoption of the Sustainable Development Goals, 2015 marked a watershed year in the international community's effort to advance gender equality. This agenda, with a deadline of 2013, emphasizes inclusion not just as an end in and of itself, but as a critical to development effectiveness. The Special Rapporteur stated that at the level of the African continent, commitment to gender equality is inherent in the African Charter, which is strengthened by the Maputo Protocol. She further stated that the significance of gender equality and women's empowerment have been further encompassed in the Agenda 2063, African framework for sustainable development and growth. And that more importantly, Agenda 2016 especially targets the year 2020 as the deadline by which all guns will be silent in Africa. Another activity was a high-level Continental webinar. On 3rd June 2020, the Special Rapporteur was invited by Plan International African Union Liaison Office to participate in a webinar high-level Continental panel on the theme, Flattening the Inequality Curve, COVID-19 and the African Girl. The objective of the webinar was to, amongst others, provide space and opportunity for the panelists to share their perspectives on the impact of COVID-19 on women and the child, and what needs to be done to safeguard the rights of girls. In her presentation, she acknowledged that prior to the unique challenges posed by the COVID-19 pandemic, gender-based violence has been a scourge that Africa has been battling with for a long time. With the World Health Organization reporting that 45% of women 15 years or older in Africa have experienced some form of gender-based violence in their lifetime. She highlighted some of the challenges that have resulted in the spikes, including the close proximity of women and girls to the abuser in confined spaces for days on end is a cause for concern. Majority of women in the informal sector losing their sources of income due to the pandemic, which further propagates stress and conflict within the home, as well as the restriction of movement compounded by the closure of courts. Another activity was a validation meeting of the first ever Maputo Protocol scorecard and index. On 23rd June 2020, the Special Rapporteur was invited by Plan International and the African Leadership Forum to a validation meeting of the framework for the Maputo Protocol scorecard and index, a COVID-19 response and recovery monitoring and implementation tool. In her statement, she congratulated the Plan International and the African Leadership Forum for the immense support provided to the Women, Gender and Development Directorate to develop the scorecard and the index. She noted that the Maputo Protocol sets the standards for women's human rights in Africa. However, despite the significant number of ratifications to the Maputo Protocol and the progress made in the implementation of the rights of women in Africa, the gains have been quite slow and low. Another activity was a participation in a webinar on human rights institutions' response to gender-based violence in the context of COVID-19. And that was on 24th June 2020. She stated that in that webinar, that the national human rights institution has a crucial role to play in the pandemic, particularly in the prevention of gender-based violence. In particular, she informed the participants that in the African Commission on Women and People's Rights, we have guidelines for state responses to COVID-19. The African Commission on Women and People's Rights highlighted the importance of monitoring, investigating, and issuing of corrective measures which is the primary role of national human rights institutions. In this regard, she stated that national human rights institutions can assert this role through awareness raising, monitoring, and documentation, public participation, and consultation with the respective government. The other activities relate to joint letters of appreciation and the press statement. On 2nd December 2019, together with the Commissioner Solomon Derso, Commissioner Rapporteur on the Human Rights Situation in the Republic of Tanzania, the Special Rapporteur sent a joint letter of appreciation to His Excellency President John Magufuli, the President of the Republic of Tanzania. The letter uploaded the decision of the Tanzanian Court of Appeal on 22nd October 2019 to uphold the decision of the High Court of Tanzania of 2016, which set the minimum age of marriage for females at 18, on par with the age of marriage for males, and up from the previous minimum age for female of 14. They were particularly pleased with this decision, which declared the provisions of 2002 Law of Marriage Act unconstitutional, given that according to Tanzania Demographic and Health Survey, percentage of women aged 25, 49 were married before the age of 18, and that child marriage leads to higher school dropout rates. Another is a joint letter of appreciation to the Republic of Sudan on criminalizing female genital mutilation. On 8th May 2020, together with Honorable Commissioner Hatem, Commissioner Rapporteur on the Human Rights Situation in the Republic of Sudan, the Special Rapporteur sent a joint letter of appreciation on the human rights situation in the Republic of Sudan to His Excellency, the Prime Minister of the Republic of Sudan, regarding the criminalization of female genital mutilation in the Republic of Sudan. In the joint letter of appreciation, they urged the government of Sudan to complement the already existing political will with the ratification, domestication, and implementation of the Maputo Protocol, so as to effectively promote and protect the rights of women and girls in all spheres of life in the country. On 25th November 2019, together with the independent UN and the regional expert mechanism on violence against women and women's rights, the Special Rapporteur made a joint statement against women and women's rights. The Special Rapporteur made in this statement, they called upon all states and the relevant stakeholders worldwide to act against rape as a form of gender-based violence, as a human rights violation, and to ensure that the definition of rape is based on the absence of consent in line with international standards. Another activity was a joint press statement on gender-based violence and discrimination. Following a panel on addressing the root causes of conflict-related gender-based violence and inequality as a means to silencing the gun, which took place on 4th February 2020 in Addis Ababa, together with the platform of UN and the regional independent mechanism on violence against women and women's rights, the Special Rapporteur made another joint statement addressing gender-based violence and discrimination. They jointly called for renewed efforts by state, international, and regional organizations and the relevant stakeholders to place measures to promote human rights and combat violence and discrimination against women at the center of all conflict prevention and resolution efforts. On 6 May 2020, the Special Rapporteur made another press statement on violation of women's rights during the COVID-19 pandemic. She expressed a concern over the high level of complaints of violence against women, including gender-based violence and domestic violence in Africa countries occasioned by lockdown measures imposed as a response to the COVID-19 pandemic. Part 2 relates achievements in various capacities within the African Commission on Human and People's Rights. Honorable Commissioner Lucia Swabo was appointed Special Rapporteur on Human Defender in Africa in November 2010. Her key achievement in this capacity is initiating the study on freedom of association and assembly in Africa, which was later developed by Commissioner Nerina Lapini. The study was adopted by the Commission in 2014 and launched in 2015. Honorable Commissioner Swabo was appointed chairperson of HIV Committee in November 2011, which she served until 2015. Her key achievement in this capacity includes the following. She participated in various brainstorming sessions focusing on strategies to ensure greater involvement of stakeholders from the legal sector in the fight against HIV pandemic, including the regional dialogue on the law and HIV in Pretoria, South Africa in 2011, and the meetings with the national partners in the Republic of Benin on the theme, the law and the HIV. She participated in various dialogue on ending child marriage in Africa, organized in Kinshasa, DRC, in Banjul, the Gambia, and in Dakar, Senegal. She also conducted fact-finding visit and the promotion mission in Nairobi, Kenya, in October 2011, in the Republic of Cameroon in September 2012. The committee met with the stakeholders dealing with the issue of HIV, and they raised the challenges and opportunities related to the legal protection of HIV. The committee commissioned research on the theme HIV, the law and human rights in the African human rights system, key challenges and opportunities for rights-based responses to HIV. The work done as the chairperson of the working group on communication. She successfully organized the various meetings of the working group prior to session of the African Commission, which has facilitated the consideration of communication by the Commission during its plenary. She has given her opinion on communication during the intersession, particularly related to provisional measures. She collaborated with the University of Bristol on implementation of the decision of the African Commission and had several meetings with them. As a special rapporteur on the rights of women in Africa, since 2015 to date, Honorable Commissioner Aswabo was appointed the Special Rapporteur on the Rights of Women in November 2015 to date. Her achievement under this capacity are as follows. Continued the work initiated by her predecessor, Honorable Commissioner Sueta Mailika, including the launching of the criminalization of abortion campaign, finalization of the report which deals with more than 19 countries with the highest prevalence of child marriage, and the joint general comment on ending child marriage in accordance with the Article 6 of the Maputo Protocol with the Committee of Experts on the Rights and the Welfare of the Child. Adoption of the guideline on sexual violence and its consequences, which is now at the popularization stage. She published the first newsletter on women's rights during the African Human Rights Commission 30th anniversary, commemorated at the African Human Rights Commission's 60th ordinary session, which included the articles related to the Maputo Protocol and its state reporting procedure, sexual violence and its consequences, violence against women during conflict, sexual reproductive health, the rights of women, and abortion in Africa. Other achievements are as follows. Commissioner Aswabo was also a member of the working group on indigenous population community in Africa, a member of the Committee for the Prevention of Torture in Africa, involved in the implementation of the Addis Ababa Road in collaboration with the Office of High Commission on Human Rights and the UN Special Rapporteur on Violence Against Women, published the articles in the Police and the Human Rights newsletter and the African Commission Torture Watch. Part 3, Laureate's conclusion and the recommendation. The Special Rapporteur unveiled this session of her report by expressing gratitude to all her partners that have extended the material and the financial support to the various mechanisms she had headed over the years, especially the mechanism of the Special Rapporteur on the Rights of Women in Africa, wherein she has served the longest. She acknowledges that her partners have been very instrumental in the process achieved by the mechanism this far. The Special Rapporteur would be remiss if she doesn't also acknowledge the various mandate holders who have made a significant contribution and worked tirelessly to achieve the mission for the mechanism with the efficiency, devoted commitment, and self-sacrifice in order to promote and protect women's rights since its establishment. She recognizes that significant milestones have been achieved in advancing women's rights and gender equality at the national, regional, and international level. And today, she is proud of the visibility and importance of the mechanism, thanks to the combined and continued efforts. The mechanism has demonstrated its commitment to the promotion of the rights of women and girls by developing and adopting soft laws, including guideline on state reporting of the Maputo Protocol, General Comment number 1 on Article 14.1 D and E, General comment number 2 on Article 14.1a, b, c, and f, and Article 14.2a and c of the Maputo Protocol. Joint general comment on child marriage and general comment on Article 7d of the Maputo Protocol. In addition to this, the African Commission on Human and People's Rights adopted the resolution 111 on the right to remedy and reparation for women and girls victims of sexual violence, the NIAME guidelines. She notes, however, that these efforts are watered down by the low rate of ratification of the Maputo Protocol, as well as the huge gap between commitments pursuant to the ratification of the text and the reality of women's lives. Indeed, she regrets that harmonization with the domestic laws in several countries which have ratified the protocol is yet to be conducted. In the same vein, while the Special Rapporteur acknowledges that states can formulate reservations while signing, ratifying, or acceding to the Maputo Protocol, she declares that such reservation should not be aimed as excluding the applicability of core provision of the protocol and undermining its objectives and purpose. She therefore calls on states who have made a reservation under the Maputo Protocol to ensure that such reservations are not incompatible with the spirit and the letter of the protocol. She also encourages states to lift reservations that negatively impact on the policies and the legislation aimed at promoting and protecting the rights of women, thereby contravening the rights of women granted in the Maputo Protocol. The Special Rapporteur laments on the issue of the non-compliance of state parties with the guidelines for state reporting under Article 26 of the Maputo Protocol. She notes that, in effect, since the adoption of the guidelines in 2009, only 40 state parties have complied with them. Furthermore, considering the global impact of women's movement around the world and the involvement, particularly of the African women, in shaping the socio-economic and political landscapes of the continent, she calls this year's International Women's Day theme, "I Am Generation Equally, Realizing Women's Rights," which she thinks is particularly fitting. In her view, this theme is geared towards mobilizing collective activism for a gender equal world. It serves as a clarion call for an end to gender-based violence, the need for substantive gains in comprehensive economic justice, bodily autonomy, sexual and reproductive health and rights, and a gender-conscious approach towards climate justice. She also recalls that this year marks the 25th year in the implementation of the Beijing Platform for Action. In that respect, she notes that on 5th March 2020, the UN Entity for Gender Equality and the Empowerment of Women launched its report, Women's Rights in the Review 25 years after Beijing, which provides a broad inventory on the status of implementation of the Beijing platform. The report elaborates on several significant strides made during this period, including the rise of women in tertiary education, outnumbering those of men, the 28% drop in the duration of maternal death across the globe since 2000 and the development of legal reforms across 131 countries to support gender equality and addresses discrimination. The Special Rapporteur still notes with concern the continued violations of women's rights in Africa. She has always maintained that gender inequality is a result of discrimination against women and girls in terms of access to and control over economic opportunities, social services, and the decision-making process. The Special Rapporteur would like to remind the African government of the obligation towards the full realization of women's rights and to encourage them to take concrete steps towards adopting legislative and other measures that ensure substantive equality for women in all spheres. In line with this year's theme adopted by the African Union, she particularly calls on state parties to commit to the AU Vision 2020 of silencing the guns by 2020 and to ratify and implement the Maputo Protocol, which obliges states to strengthen the capacity of women in peace building, conflict prevention and resolution, condemn armed conflict, and prevent violence against women in whatever form during armed conflict. In the same vein, she calls on state parties to provide comprehensive support to women and girls affected by war and other crises, including COVID-19. The Special Rapporteur formulated other recommendations to states which are in this report. And she also gave other recommendations such as submitting state report under Article 26 of the Maputo Protocol and complying with the guideline of state reporting of the Maputo Protocol, supporting women's participation in policy and lawmaking bodies, as well as the law enforcement and security mechanism with the counter-terrorism mandate, and ensuring that counter-terrorism efforts are more gender responsive through training and awareness raising for both male and female national officials. Applying the African Commission's soft laws on women as models in drafting national legislation and policy related to the rights of women and girls, involving national human rights institutions and civil society in the development of plans and policies on women's rights, including the establishment of monitoring mechanisms, etc. The Special Rapporteur also calls on human rights institutions and the civil society organizations to continue monitoring human rights of women and girls at the national level and collaborating with the Special Rapporteur on joint initiatives. The Special Rapporteur ended by recognizing the role played by all legal officers who have assisted the various mandates handled by the Special Rapporteur during her tenure at the African Commission on Human People's Rights. Thank you, Chair. This is the report of the Special Rapporteur on Women's Rights in Africa. It was long, sorry.
Thank you very much.
She did a lot.
Thank you very much, Commissioner Kaitesi. This is the end of tenure report of the Special Rapporteur, covering many years of service as member of the African Commission on Human and People's Rights. Certainly, it has covered quite a wide range of issues, not only as it relates to her role as the special rapporteur on the rights of women, but also other areas of responsibility that she has been entrusted with by the African Commission on Human and People's Rights during her service as a member of the Commission. I agree with Commissioner Kaitese. A lot has indeed been accomplished by Commissioner Lucius Wagbo, as a former Special Rapporteur on the Rights of Women, and in the various other roles assigned to her. And we thank her for that. We also thank you for stepping in to present the report, but also to take the mantle of now championing the rights of women in Africa moving forward. As the report that Commissioner Kaitese presented, as well as the various statements that we have heard in the course of this session demonstrates, there is a very, very long way before we come anywhere close to achieving the ideals and objectives of the Maputo Protocol for securing the dignity and full enjoyment by women and girls of human rights. What we have heard in the course of this past week is extremely alarming. Some of the events in respect of which we have been informed of are very shocking, and indeed in the frontier of advancing the rights of women. What we have witnessed in the context of COVID-19 is actually a regression, a deterioration of a monumental scale that should really disturb all of us, and it should be one of the priority areas of intervention for us all as members of the African Commission, but also importantly as stakeholders of the African Charter on Human and People's Rights. We should therefore, just like what has been done in Nigeria by the 36 states of Nigeria, we should declare the violence against women, the various acts of sexual and gender-based violence, as well as abuse of the rights of women, deprivation of access to sexual and reproductive health, and other disruptions that have occurred during this period, indeed as a major human rights crisis, as a pandemic within a pandemic itself. That requires a declaration of a state of emergency in a way similar to what has been done, as we have been told, in Nigeria. We do have two requests for making a statement in respect to the activity report of the Special Rapporteur on the Rights of Women. But in the light of the fact that it is time for taking a break, I would like just to state the names of the institutions so that they are on standby. When we come back from break, they will be the ones taking the floor. These are East and Horn of Africa Human Rights Defenders Project. This is the organization with observer status 359 by Mr. Joseph Bikanda. And we also do have Human Rights Institute of South Africa, who with observer status number 253, who also requested to make an intervention in respect to the report of the Special Rapporteur on the Rights of Women. So the representatives of these two institutions kindly be on standby so that we take your statements when we come back at 5:15 11 GMT. Thank you once again, Commissioner Kaitesi. Let's have a health break until 11 GMT. Good day again, colleagues, honorable members of the Commission, distinguished delegates of states, international organizations, NHRIs, and civil society organizations. Welcome back again. Sorry that I had another encounter with the internet disconnecting. As I indicated before the break,